Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our May 9th, 2022 regular meeting of Belleville City Council. For everybody watching on the city streaming service or on our YouTube channel or on the Your TV broadcast, I would point out that our agenda and all reports are on the city website at www.belleville.ca. It's under the agenda minutes and live meeting video on the left side of the screen. If you click on that button, it'll then take you to a calendar. You can click on May 9th, and it'll bring you to the agenda for today's meeting. There is a hyperlink inside the agenda or within the agenda in the event that you wish to look at the individual reports and follow along as council considers them. I will now call the meeting to order and state that we are all present. I'll ask City Clerk and Director of Corporate Services, Matt McDonald, to lead us in a moment of reflection.
May we be worthy custodians of all that has been entrusted to us. Help us to be concerned only for what will promote good government. May we bring to our council chamber minds that think and hearts that feel, always having respect for others so that we may serve the people of our city in a helpful manner and for the good of all.
Thank you. You may be seated. All right, I'll ask if there are any disclosures of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. I'll start with Councillor McCaw.
Thank you. 8B9 and the subsequent bylaw 2022-76.
I'm sorry, 8B3. The property item. Okay. Okay, and that was bylaw number 2022-76. All right. Councillor Alsop.
Yes. Thank you, Chair. I have 8B9 and the subsequent bylaw 2022-72.
-72, you said?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. 8B7. I sit on one of the committees that's receiving money from the grant committee.
Okay.
And I don't know which bylaw it is.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else with anything they'd like to declare? Councillor Millette.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. And I too will declare on 8B7 pursuant to the Treasurer's Report EF 2022-03 for the same reason as Councillor Thompson, the same board.
Okay, terrific. Anyone else? Councillor Alsop.
I would like to take the opportunity to also take 8B7 as I also sit on that same board.
Okay, thank you.
So I won't make any money, but even still.
Okay. So I've got 3 of you for 8B7. Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none? Thank you. There are no public meetings today, so I'm looking for a motion to adopt the regular council meeting minutes of April 25th, 2022 and the regular in-camera meeting minutes of April 25th, 2022. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Alsop. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. And so we'll now move to deputations. And I'm going to ask Chief Belair to join me at the podium at the back of the room where we are going to introduce Don Carter, who has been appointed to the role of Deputy Fire Chief of Emergency Response, and we will swear him in. Part of the renovations allows us to be able to do these things. Are you prepared to take the oath?
Yes.
Good. All right, if you can repeat after me. I, Don Carter, as the Deputy Fire Chief of the Municipality of the Corporation of the City of Belleville.
I, Don Carter, as the Deputy Fire Chief in the Municipality of the Corporation of the City of Belleville.
Do solemnly swear that, and you can read the rest of it.
Do solemnly swear that I will carry out the duties of the office of the Deputy Fire Chief to the best of my ability with respect for the mission, vision, and core values of the Belleville Fire and Emergency Services, while honoring the 3 fundamental pillars of the city that appear on our coat of arms, those being loyalty, tradition, and progress. I will at all times protect, safeguard, and preserve life and property against fire and other perils and maintain proficiency in the fire service. And I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties as the Deputy Fire Chief according to the ethics and rules of the fire service, striving to promote the 3 lines of defense for fire and life safety, being education, compliance, and response. And I freely make this solemn promise and declaration conscientiously, believing it to be true, and accept these obligations as my responsibility, recognizing the duties of my office as a symbol of public faith and trust. Declared on May 9th, 2002 at the City of Belleville.
Great. We'll sign the documents, and then we'll be able to congratulate you. Congratulations, Deputy Chief. Thank you very much. We also have a wonderful opportunity to present some exemplary provincial and federal medals and bars to the following members of the Belleville Fire and Emergency Service Department. Mark Shannon, Andy Noyes, Greg Sylvester, Joanne Cleary, Cliff Christopher, Don Carter, Mike Bustos, Pete Huffman, Mike McDonald, Todd Cleary, Norm Mitz, and Don Carter. And before we do the individual presentations, I would like to just describe or identify the meaning of these medals that we are going to be presenting today, including the description and the significance of each of them. So first is the Ontario Fire Service's Long Service Medal, which was first awarded in 1971 and is an expression of public appreciation for the dedication and hard work of Ontario firefighters. It is officially recognized by the province and is included in the Fire Protection and Prevention Act 1997. Also, the Fire Service's Federal Exemplary Service Medal is a service medal created in 1985 by the Canadian Monarch and Council. The medal recognizes members of recognized Canadian fire services who have served for 20 years, 10 of which has been served in the performance of duties involving potential risks. A bar bearing a maple leaf in silver is given for each additional 10 years served. And the medal is awarded by the Chancellery of Canadian Orders. And I'm going to go back and assist Chief Belair as we hand them out. So we'll go in order. So starting, Chief, we'll start off with Mike Bustos. If you can come forward. Congratulations. Next, I'd like to call on Deputy Chief Carter. Next, we have Cliff Christopher. Congratulations. Next, we have Joanne Cleary. Next is Pete Huffman. Peter? Mike McDonald? Yeah. Next, we have Mike McDonald. Next is Andy Noyes. And last today, I'd like to call on Mark Shannon. Just on behalf of council, I just want to say how proud we all are of all of the women and men who work for the city, especially those emergency services. We're grateful that we're here today with you, and we're so happy. We're always love to have families with us, including little ones. It brings life to our chambers, and that's what it's all about. I know some of you are still on duty, so you're able to leave now if you'd like. Thank you for being with us.
Before everyone leaves, I don't want to speak from the gallery, but on behalf of our members, we'd like to thank Chief Belair for bringing a long-standing provincial recognition to the members of the Belleville Fire family here. And it was much appreciated to have this happen, and thank you for recognizing the members and the services that they provide to the city.
Thank you. Well, that was so nice, and I will say that if I would have had that baby one more time, it wouldn't have gone back. So I would have had him, so that's wonderful. Next, it's my pleasure to call upon Jill Raycroft, the Executive Director of the Belleville Chamber of Commerce and the CEO of the Belleville Chamber of Commerce, to make a deputation to council. Good afternoon, Ms. Raycroft.
I'm wondering if it was something I'm going to say. Anyway, good afternoon, Your Worship, and members of council, community members in attendance here, and virtually, and members of the media. On behalf of the Belleville Chamber of Commerce and our team at the Log Cabin, we are so excited to be planning events as we remember them. For the past 2 years, we have been pivoting to provide some version of your favorite events and to demonstrate our commitment to the contract with the city to plan and execute them. We have appreciated your continued support as we have done whatever was possible. Susan has been putting so many ideas on hold over the past 2 years based on successes pre-COVID, considering the changes during COVID, and what we're seeing in the community for interest in getting together again. In a previous report, we outlined our plans for our Spring Family Fun Fest coming up on May 28th, and we hope families will join us down at Westwicks Park for that event as well. Today, we are requesting assistance and special consideration from the city for our 2 summer events, Canada Day and the 44th year for the Belleville Waterfront and Multicultural Festival. The details of our request have been outlined in the report, and we have already met with city staff regarding their capacities to support us. They have identified challenges, and we've adjusted our needs accordingly. It is always possible we will have last-minute adjustments, but the report is a fairly accurate outline of our needs. That's the technical part of our deputation. I would also like to take advantage of the opportunity to be here in person again to share some of the great things we have planned. So for Canada Day on July 1st, after 2 years of acknowledging this day with car parades, celebrating our local community heroes, we are looking forward to bringing back a full-day event for the Friday of a long weekend. Kicking off the morning will be a fundraising pancake breakfast with the Kiwanis Club and Andy Forgey's Sunrise Show. And fast forward to the end with fireworks, but what's looking to be one of the best shows we've seen here as long as we can remember. We will be featuring live music from noon till 10 p.m. The Mayor's Community Barbecue will be back for lunch, but for lunch this year, starting with 1. Buskers have continued to be a continued feature throughout the pandemic, and they'll be back again, wandering throughout the park for bursts of entertainment all day long. The Wild Wild West Show is also returning, as is the Hot Diggity Dog Show. Climbing wall, balloon art, face painting, all of those things are back. We have the added advantage of the pop-ups for food, and we'll have a couple of our multicultural vendors coming into the park early to make sure there's something for everyone to enjoy. For Belleville Waterfront and Multicultural Festival, July 7th to 10th, this event has been many things to many people over the years. We are bringing back the music, the food, and the rides in 2022. We're also bringing back the Parade of Nations, and with a wave of newcomers to our area, we're looking forward to seeing a number of new countries represented by members of our community this year. We're looking forward to and additional Indigenous cultural elements as we acknowledge these lands from those who are here before us. Our main stage will include musical tributes to Elvis, Foreigner, Journey, Carole King, the Beach Boys, Chicago, and ABBA, among others. We will also feature various international performers. The Canine Water Sports and Altamont Dog Shows are back as well. At this time, we have not yet secured a volunteer organization to support the beer garden and patio, but we are continuing to explore how this might happen. Thanking you in advance for your support and looking forward to seeing you and the community return to Westmix for these events in July. Thank you.
Very cool. Excellent. Thank you very much for that great information, and we're all looking forward to the summer. Colleagues, any questions or comments for Ms. Raycroft? Okay, I think that means we're all very looking forward to all the range of activities, and the City of Belleville truly appreciates our partnership with the Chamber and the events that you put on for our behalf.
Thank you very much. It's an honor.
Great. So I'm looking for a resolution that the deputation by Jill Raycroft, Executive Director of the the Chief Executive Officer of the Belleville Chamber of Commerce, updating Council on the 2022 events under the service agreement, be received and referred to staff. Moved by Councillor Feeney, second by Councillor Alsop. Any questions, comments? All in favor? It's carried. There is no correspondence today, and so we'll move to Committee of the Whole. Resolution is that Council rise and go into Committee of the Whole to hear and consider reports, passing of recommendations and resolutions with myself in the chair. Moved by Councillor Sandison, seconded by Councillor Alsop. All in favor? It's carried. So we'll move to 8A, reports. The agenda shall include under reports items that warrant individual attention from Council, and we'll deal with 8A1, which is disposal of surplus land on Eglinton Road. And the resolution is that the portion of the Eglinton Road allowance between Lot 17 and 18, Concession 3, Thurlow, be declared as surplus to the city's requirements, and that a bylaw to stop up and close and convey that portion of the Eglinton Road allowance to the abutting property owner be prepared for Council's consideration. Moved by Councillor Sandison, seconded by Councillor Alsop. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? It's carried. 8A2, another disposal of surplus land. This is with Charles Street and Stoke Street. The resolution is that the portion of the Charles Street road allowance between Stoke Street and Charles Street, City of Belleville, be declared as surplus to the city's requirements, and that a bylaw to stop up, close, and convey that portion of the Charles Street allowance to the abutting property owner be prepared for Council's consideration. Moved by Councillor Carr, second by Councillor Thompson. Questions or comments? All in favor? It's carried. 8A3, deferral of development securities for Parkside Village. And the resolution is that the request to defer posting of site plan securities for the proposed expansion of Parkside Village located at 193 North Park Street be received, and further, that staff be authorized to prepare an agreement with the landowner to defer the site plan securities until the first advance of funds from the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation are received. Moved by Councillor Alsop, seconded by Councillor Sandison. Questions or discussion? Councillor Sandison.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, through you. So, if I understand this correctly, we are deferring the payment of the $270,000 until such time as CMHC funds are received. And this is the four-story, 54-unit building that's going to be built for seniors. Does this decision in any way impede the start of the construction, or does it facilitate the start of the construction?
Good question. I'll ask Director Ashton.
It will assist the project to move ahead faster, so they won't have to wait for CMHC funding.
Okay, just as a follow-on, do we know when they intend to break ground?
I don't have those exact details, but I'm assuming it'll be sort of sooner than later, but I think they're just trying to get everything executed so that they are ready to go as soon as CMHC funding is available.
Okay. Anyone else? I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. 8A4, contract number TOS 2022-15, a purchase of a 2023 F550 truck with dump body. And the resolution is that the request for proposal submission, Benton Fry Ford Limited, be accepted for contract number TOS 2022-15 to purchase a 2023 F550 truck with dump body in the total amount of $106,564.65, this being the most qualified proposal received, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign the acceptance agreement on behalf of the corporation of the city of Belleville, and that the city clerk be authorized to affix the corporate seal. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Carr. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? It's carried. 8A5, contract number Parks 2022-05, design build Alamite basketball court. And the resolution is that the request for proposal submission from Kylie Paving Limited be accepted for contract number Parks 2022-05, design build Alamite basketball court in the total amount of $254,250, this being the lowest proposal received, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign the acceptance agreement on behalf of the corporation of the city of Belleville, and that the city clerk be authorized to affix the corporate seal, and that the 2022 capital budget item number 22-1.065, park and public spaces signage, be reduced by $93,000, and that item number 22-1.067, Tom Gavey Alamite Park basketball court be increased by $93,000 for a total budget amount of $233,000. Moved by Councillor Alsop, seconded by Councillor McCaw. Questions or discussion? Councillor Alsop.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say I'm very excited to see this on the agenda today. Obviously, the next couple of motions that we're going to look at here have come as a result of our Parks and Recreation Master Plan and some of the things that are identified there. And so I'm very glad to see these on the agenda and moving forward.
Great. Yes, thank you. Councillor Thompson and then Councillor Millette.
Yeah, it's great to see it move forward. Can I have somebody explain the costing of this? I know it's consistent with the next two or three, but if somebody can explain why the difference in cost from what we estimated, why the difference there?
General Manager Reid, do you want to take a shot at that? So to speak?
Yep.
Swiss shot?
Yeah. Slam dunk? I don't know. Through the chair to Councillor Thompson. Originally, when we put out the RFP, we did put in a provisional item of a second basketball court, just in case we did get very advantageous pricing. As you can see, the high-level pricing we originally got was a little on the low side, so we weren't able to take advantage of that. Because we want to try to keep the basketball court within budget or close to budget, we did remove a few items within it. Obviously not the second court, so we're just going to have one court there, and there were some things within it that we thought with some lighting and different things we could remove. But we wanted to look at what the core project was, and that was a basketball court, and we didn't want to skimp on some netting and different things that needed to be a part of it. So that's what you see in front of you here for this project. So you tell me you've taken some items out of the contract that was originally in it to still come into over budget? Yeah, so we've removed supply and installation of a few, the lighting system. We removed the line 3, which was the additional court, and we brought it down to where you see the budget or what the request is in front of you today.
Was there any concern about the lighting? Because basketball courts, I'm sure there's people going to playing basketball at after dark.
Well, we looked at again the core project here, and it was having a court for people to use. Typically, basketball is used during the summer months when it's lighter till 9 o'clock. Typically, in the winter months when we see darkness at 5, 6, it's a little colder, and more people don't use that type of stuff after there. So.
And if I may, lighting. Any estimate of what the lighting would have been when you took it out?
I think it was around 60 or 70,000 as an estimate, so it was a fair bit of the project.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Millette.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to Mr. Reid. And I'll probably ask you the same, and I share the enthusiasm of my fellow colleagues on these. It should be noted that the design at the Tom Gavey Alamite Park for the basketball court is the first outdoor court that the city has installed, and again, part of the master plan, and I'm hoping to see more because the demand for the sport is certainly growing. And further than my question is, Mr. Reed, on this and probably the next, save me having to ask that, well, you can't answer that until we pass 8A6. When might we see completion of the basketball court?
We're hoping to have it, and, Kylie Paving has said that they can mobilize and start getting in there within the next 3 to 4 weeks. So we're hoping to see something by the middle of summer.
Excellent. Thanks very much.
Great. Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I'm too, like some other councillors have expressed tonight, that excited about this. But being a sports person, when I did look at this when we received it last week, that $254,250 for a basketball court, to me seems rather high. And I understand the pavement would be the expensive part. How many nets are going to be at this basketball court? Is it going to be just like east and west or north and south? How many baskets are we going to have, and how many kids could play actually on the base for the court? Because to me, $250,000 plus for a basketball court seems like a lot. I get all the benefits of it, but from the inside looking out, to me it seems a few bucks.
Yep, fair question. As a part of this project, we'll see a all-site grading. You'll see a paved surface and line painting. It has like a painted surface meant for basketball. It will have a court on obviously the north. It'll be facing north and south. It'll have 2 baskets on the north and south, and it'll be completely fenced in.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else on this? So if I can just follow up on Councillor Thompson's comments, and I think we all ask ourselves about pricing, but this is not just simply putting up a couple nets in a cul-de-sac. We have to completely reconstruct the base, make sure that in time it doesn't become uneven, make sure that there are no ruts and all those issues, particularly from a liability point of view. But Mr. Reed, so do we understand correctly that there will not be any lighting at this facility, so it'll be a daytime only park?
That is correct.
And when you originally looked at the concept and you were hoping to be able to find efficiencies, and I think inflation has thrown all those items out the window now, for us to be able to expand this to 2 courts in the future, are we taking any provisions to make that easy, or will it be a complete start from scratch if we wanted to add a second court there?
The way the lay of the land is there, it does allow for a second court if we choose to do so in the future, and it should be easily enough to do that. And with any luck at all, now that some of the site work is done and leveling, it should make it easier. With the price of inflation and the cost of everything, again, everything is escalating, so I can't really comment on the price at the time, but.
Fair enough. And I have one more question, and I'll recognize Councillor Thompson. Just on that, so the original proposal for the lighting was to surround it with lighting?
Yeah, it would have adequate lighting there to allow people to play after dark.
So I didn't talk to you about this before, so my apologies first to put you on the spot. But I guess just, I never really thought about it until Councillor Thompson raised the issue. If we were to do 3-sided lighting, so along the baselines and then the one sideline, would that reduce the price from the suggested $60,000 you had spoken about? And would it be safe enough to be able to provide lighting for after dark play, but yet not enclose the court, and also allow us in the future to look at expanding it as we anticipate the demand will increase and there will be the ability to have a second court there, we can just continue on the lighting along the baselines and then fill in the opposite sideline.
Yeah, the biggest core part of that cost of the electrical is getting the service in, the service, the conduit, the lighting. So reducing the lights by 1-2 lights on a side really, in all honesty, wouldn't have significant impact of savings, because the light itself, the fixture that's installed, that's the part that is fairly inexpensive. It's getting the service in and getting the conduit entrenched. So. And
is it less expensive to do that servicing? So I'm thinking about running the lines underground and whatnot. Is that when you're doing this work, or will it be the same price 2 years from now as it would be if we did it with this project?
Well, as the costs are continuing to go up, so the price would probably escalate it and be more in the future.
Okay. We may come back to that. Councillor Thompson, I'll recognize you. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mark, for bringing, expanding on the conversation on the lighting. If we don't do the lighting now, is it going to add, because we've got the basketball court, if we do the lighting later, is it going to be an extra cost? And part of that, you say bringing in the service anyways. Are we not gradually going to bring the service into that particular lot to do other work?
That corner of the Elmite, we had no intentions other than the lighting that was there.
Okay. So my other question is then, if we decide to do lighting later, are we going to destroy the, any work that's done on the basketball court at the start?
We would make sure that there, if we were to do lighting and electrical afterwards, we'd make sure that we weren't going through the court. We would make sure we go around a trench and put conduit outside of the area itself.
Somehow or other, I'd like to bring a cost back for lighting, and I don't know how to do this.
No, I think, Councillor Thompson, I think we're all on the same page. You know, this is the first outdoor basketball court that the city of Belleville has constructed in well over 20 years,
Yes.
I believe. Is that fair to say? And we have no outdoor basketball facilities for nighttime basketball. And so I think we all would be interested in doing it. I appreciate the environment, the inflationary environment that we're in now. You know, it is very difficult to make predictions on cost when you don't know not just inflation, but also the scarcity of materials, and that's what also is driving issues. So, Mr. Reid, I wonder if you can just go back. I think we're going to approve this project. We want to go ahead with it. Start your plans, and if we can take another look at lighting, bringing in lighting to service 2 courts, so that in the future, if council decides they want to expand it from the 1 to 2, then we can go forward. You know, I certainly hope that we never have to experience a pandemic like we did with COVID ever before, but it really showed us the need to be able to have outdoor facilities, and the facilities that we have in the city were well used, and if we can add a few extra hours by having nighttime and evening basketball, particularly in very hot and humid summer months when the temperature does go down, it is a good thing. And so I think that consistent with the Parks and Recreation Master Plan and the direction of this council, we'd like to take a look at it. And if you can speak with Director Hines about identifying a potential funding source, I think there is appetite on our part to do that with this first court. So, Councillor Thompson, I think that all that is to say that we'll vote on this resolution, and then General Manager Reid will bring something back as soon as possible. Okay.
That would be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Sanderson.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, through you. So, I'm sort of on the same page as Councillor Kelly. This is a lot of money to expend. I'm more troubled by the fact that the budget was $140,000, and we're already almost $100,000 over now at $233, and we're talking about adding another $60,000 of lighting. So all of a sudden, this basketball court is now north of $300,000. Now, the Parks and Recreation Master Plan has many projects for the city for this year and for next year. And we can't, as they come along, bump or accept that we're gonna, exceed the budget by more than 100%. I mean, it's just not fiscally responsible. So I understand that this is our first park and we want to do it right, but I also think we need to exercise some caution in terms of how much money we're going to spend on this. So I'm okay with supporting the budget that's, the expense that's going to be incurred, which is already $93,000 to hit a budget, but I would certainly be cautious about adding any more to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? So the original motion, the resolution that's on the floor, as was read, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Next is 8A6, contract number Parks 22-06, design build tennis court with lighting at the Potters Creek Park. And the resolution is that the request for proposal submission from Kylie Paving Limited be accepted for contract number Parks 2022-06, design build tennis court with lighting, Potters Creek Park, in the total amount of $180,800, this being the most qualified proposal received, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign the acceptance agreement on behalf of the corporation of the city of Belleville, and that the city clerk be authorized to affix the corporate seal, and that 2022 capital budget item number 22-1.065, park and public spaces signage be reduced by $15,300, and that item number 22-1.070, tennis courts with lighting, Potters Creek Park, be increased by $15,300 for a total budget amount of $165,300. Moved by Councillor McCaw, seconded by Councillor Sanderson. Questions and discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. I'm sorry, Councillor Millette, I didn't see you. Before I call the question, Councillor Millette.
Well, same question last go around. And again, I'm happy to see with this proposal, it's a lighted facility, so there will be at least tennis, I believe, Mr. Reid played under the lights in this one. Again, quick question, ballpark of installation timing, if you can.
Mr. Reid?
Yeah, about the approximately the same time frame. With the once they mobilize, they'll be in town to do both projects at the same time.
So midsummer sometime, sounds great. Thank you.
Right. Anyone else? I'll call the question now. All in favor? It's carried. 8A7, contract number Parks 2022-03, Hillcrest Park, site servicing and grading, and the resolution is that the request for tender submission from Earthcrete, Ontario, be accepted for contract number Parks 2022-03, Hillcrest Park improvements, site servicing and grading in the total amount of $840,784.27, this being the most qualified tender received, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign the acceptance agreement on behalf of the corporation of the city of Belleville, and that the city clerk be authorized to affix the corporate seal. Moved by Councillor Alsop, seconded by Councillor Millette. Questions and discussion. Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, if I could have somebody sort of go over the pricing. I see there's items requested, the contract. Can I sort of have somebody go over how this works out? Are we eliminating stuff? Are we adding stuff? So I could just have an explanation on the pricing.
Yep.
General Manager Reid.
Yep. Through the chair to Councillor Thompson. So as a part of the project that we're proposing to be awarded to Earth Creek, there'll be site servicing included, water, sanitary sewer, and storm sewer, including catch basins. We're going to be doing an electrical service to get the site prepared for the future uses within it. And it will also include trail lighting and for the trail that'll be built around it, a gravel trail. Site grading and excess material will be placed around the toboggan hill, and we will be bringing a separate contract once the site servicing is there for a washroom facility.
So if I'm trying to, are we in budget with what we proposed, or are we over budget?
We are under budget. We had estimated that the work in which we had put forward was going to be around $800,000, and as you can see, it came in around 200 or 710. Within that, we felt that it was prudent. Some of the provisional items we included in the contract, we are going to include some extra graveling of trails and so forth.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Right. Anyone else on this? So this is a very significant step forward. You know, there is a lot of property in that former Hillcrest site. The school that we purchased from the school board has been demolished, making the way for the Children's Safety Village and this wide range of recreational facilities. This will be an incredible addition to that area, and we are doing this properly by bringing in all services to allow for future public washroom facilities and proper lighting and everything else that will be required there. So this is a very big step, and I know that the neighborhood is very anxious to see this project started, just like we are, and this is great. So thank you very much, General Manager Reid. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. And the last of the 8As, 8A8, roof replacements at various locations. The resolution is that the request for tender submission from Defo Roofing Limited be accepted for the roof replacements, various locations, Quinte Sports and Wellness Center, Transit Terminal, and the Wallbridge Sand Dome, in the total amount of $478,203.57. This being the lowest qualified tender received, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign the acceptance agreement on behalf of the corporation of the city of Belleville, and the city clerk be authorized to affix the corporate seal, and that the 2022 capital budget be amended to increase capital project 1.058 Quinte Sports and Wellness Center roof repairs by $100,000 to be funded $50,000 from the Recreational Facilities Reserve Fund and $50,000 from the Provincial Gas Tax. Moved by Councillor Sanderson, seconded by Councillor Alsop. Any questions or comments on this? Seeing none, the only comment I would make, my colleagues, is that we are really coming into some extraordinary times, and we're going to need to be flexible. Inflation is higher than we have seen in more than a generation. We are having real difficulty, not just with increases. This year we budgeted 45% as an increase in fuel costs. We're already exceeded above that, and we will see what happens. I hear that Elliott Lake was over $2 a liter. Diesel fuel is going at a huge surcharge. We're seeing scarcity in steel and in building materials. And, we're going to have to continue to be flexible to perhaps reduce some of our other budget areas to be able to free up resources to complete our priority projects. And I want to thank our staff, including Director Hines, for finding these few. But, I'm not saying this as a warning. I'm just saying this as we move forward, this is going to become a regular activity for us, trying to find out that things have changed more than we even anticipated when we set the budget in March, and things are changing, and we'll have to find a way through this. We're not the only ones. Every municipality, every provincial government, every federal government is, but this is a challenge that we will see more and more, and it doesn't mean that we can not go ahead with projects. We're going to have to find a way, and I thank everybody for their cooperation. So with that, 8A8, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. So we'll move now to 8B, consent items, where council may adopt consent items by one motion, but prior to consideration of such motion, members may request that specific items be removed from consideration under such motion, and council shall consider such items individually. I know that there are 3 items that have been pulled with declared conflicts, and if they are not pulled out for the discussion, then we'll just have a motion, and those 3 councillors can abstain. So I'll go around and ask if anyone's have anything they want to pull, starting with Councillor McCaw.
No, thank you.
Councillor Sanderson.
8B3.
Okay. Councillor Alsop.
No, thank you.
Councillor Thompson.
8B3 and 8B5.
Okay. Councillor Carr.
8B3, 8B7, please.
Councillor Feeney.
No, thank you.
Councillor Millette.
Already pulled, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kelly.
No, thank you.
Okay, so we'll pull those items, and so the resolution is that the consent items be approved with the exception of items 8B3, 8B5, 8B7. That's it, and 8B7. So on those items, Councillor McCaw, Councillor Thompson, Councillor Millette, and Councillor Alsop have a conflict. So I'll just ask you, we'll just say for the purpose of the meeting that you're not participating in the vote, correct? All in favor? It's carried. And then so now we'll go back, so mover and a seconder on the AB motion. So Councillor Sanderson and Councillor Kelly. All in favor? It's carried. Councillors McCaw, Alsap, Millette, and Thompson did not vote on that motion. So now we'll move to those items that were pulled, and we'll start with 8B3, which Councillor McCaw declared a conflict on. And 8B3 is a recommendation report for the proposed amendments to Belleville's Loyalist Secondary Plan and zoning bylaws 2076 to 80 and 10245, and the application for draft plan of subdivision parts of lots 31 and 32, broken front concession and concession 1, Township of Sydney, now City of Belleville, County of Hastings. It is the principal planner's report number PP 2022-24, and the resolution is that pursuant to the planning report PP 2022-24, the Planning Advisory Committee recommends the following to City Council: that Belleville's Loyalist Secondary Plan, as amended, concerning parts of lots 31 and 32, broken front concession and concession 1, Township of Sydney, now City of Belleville, County of Hastings, be amended by redesignating portions of Schedule A land use plan to specify the location of the parkland, stormwater pond, and environmental protection lands. Schedule D stormwater management plan to address the extent of the stormwater pond, and Schedule E transportation and trail system plan to modify the location of the proposed collector road. And that zoning bylaw number 2076-80 as amended be repealed in its entirety for the subject land shown on attachment A2. And that Schedule A, map number 3 of bylaw number 10245 as amended be amended by extending the schedule to include the subject land as shown on attachment 2. And that zoning bylaw number 10245 as amended be amended by rezoning parts of lots 31 and 32, broken front concession and concession 1, Township of Sydney, now City of Belleville, County of Hastings, from the agricultural A2-8 zone and the environmental protection zone to the residential 3rd density zone, residential 6th density zone, residential 7th density zone, open space zone, environmental control E zone, and community facility zone to facilitate the development of 695 dwelling units consisting of single detached dwellings, semi-detached dwellings, townhouses, horizontal multiple attached dwellings, and 8 low-rise apartment buildings and 3 high-density apartment buildings. And that approval of a draft plan of subdivision prepared by RFA Planning Consultant, Inc., dated November 19, 2021, as shown on attachment A3 to Engineering Development Services Report number PP-2022-24, be granted for the lands identified as part of lots 31 and 32, broken front concession and concession 1, Township of Sydney, now City of Belleville, County of Hastings, subject to the draft plan conditions outlined in the attachment number 10 to report number PP 2022-24, and that a bylaw to approve an amendment to Belleville's Loyalist Secondary Plan in accordance with the provisions of Section 21 of the Planning Act RSO 1990 be prepared for Council's consideration, and that a bylaw amending zoning bylaw number 2076-80, being a bylaw to regulate the use of land and the height, bulk, location, size, floor area, spacing, character, and use of buildings, be prepared for Council's consideration, and that a bylaw amending zoning bylaw number 10245, being a bylaw to regulate the use of land in height, bulk, location, size, floor area, spacing, character, and use of buildings, be prepared for Council's consideration. Moved by Councillor Sandison, seconded by Councillor Carr. Councillor Sandison, you had pulled this item, so go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, we've all received some correspondence from residents in the Hastings Park Drive area, and many of us were involved in the Potters Creek development, where we met with a developer and we met with RFA Consulting, and we laid out the plan and shared that with the residents, and they provided feedback, and I think there were some adjustments made and some accommodations. So we have some history with the residents in there. This development, Village of Avonlea, 695 homes, is certainly a welcome development for our city. We've got a housing shortage across the entire housing spectrum, so the sooner this can break ground, the better. 2 questions, I think. Number one is, one of the questions we were asked to consider was deferring this decision. But before I ask the question on the deferment, I'd like to ask about the routing, road infrastructure. So Hastings Park Drive as it is, will it become a thoroughfare or a through road extending over to Walbridge Loyalist Road? Because
Director Ashton.
Okay, so there is right now, there was a traffic study that was submitted that considered Avonlea plus Potters Creek. So the traffic study did include a east-west connection, which was in conformity with the transportation map that's included in the Loyalist secondary plan. The Loyalist secondary plan, I think at the time there was some confusion on whether that was a collector or not a collector. The proposal for Avonlea and the traffic study that incorporates both is that it then returns to a local road, especially when you go past Hastings Park Drive and the potential for traffic calming, and then Sienna becomes the collector. So Avonlea can continue, in my opinion, without making council having to make a final decision on whether the road goes through Hastings Park Drive as a through, if you want to call it a thoroughfare, as a local road that's connected. Potters 9B, we're expecting an application within a couple of months, and then we've already had some discussions on, would we make the connection at that point in time or not? So that will sort of be in front of council to sort of approve, hopefully within the next couple of months, or to at least have some discussion and public input at that point in time.
Okay, so additional question. So based on those discussions, what's the percentage probability that Hastings Park Drive will become a local road? If we've looked at various plans and we've had some discussions, we must have a sense of what the likelihood is of that becoming a local road.
So the local road, as part of this application, so there's an update of the schedule within the Loyalist secondary plan, the transportation map, that changes the status of Hastings Park Drive to a local road with connections. So the question will be when 9B comes forward, do you make the connection or not? And that'll be a decision council can make a final decision on at that point in time.
Okay, so if I understand what Director Ashton's saying, it really has no impact on today's discussion, and therefore, if we were to consider a deferment, it really doesn't accomplish anything other than just delay this decision.
Yeah, you can make a decision on one of the correspondence that you received at Potters 9B stage.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else on this? Councillor Alsap, and then Councillor Thompson, and then Councillor Carr.
Yes, I just wanted to thank Councillor Sanderson for that question. I think it is very important, particularly to the residents of Hastings Park Drive. I know there was a lot of concern today about moving this forward, and it was my opinion that that would be best dealt with in 9B, so I'm glad that we do have that answer, and that we can assure the residents of Hastings Park Drive that that will be looked at again in the future when we talk about that application, so thank you for that.
Right. Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Hi, I got two questions. So on Hastings Park Drive, I understand it's going to come out to Avonlow Road, or Avonlow Road. But there will also be another entrance further on down to that subdivision, Potters Creek subdivision. Is that correct?
So
So I think, Councillor Thompson, I'm a little confused too. So you're saying Potters Creek will have an exit going north as
Yes.
well? They'll have a north-south exit, yes?
Yes.
That whole Sienna Drive will help connect that area. It'll go north. The Avonlea subdivision will have entrance off Avonlow, but also off Walbridge Loyalist.
Yes, but, and I should have called Mr. Ashton today, but on Avonlow Road, so Hastings Drive will come into Potter's Creek, right?
Hastings will come into, so you're talking about, the connection will be made to, it'll come into, basically, Avonlow Road, yeah.
Well, it depends, right? I think he's talking about Potter's Creek, so
Oh,
that's
Potter's
what's
Creek.
gonna happen when we deal with subdivision or the next phase 9B of Potter's Creek. We'll decide whether it's gonna hook into Hastings Drive. And,
Yeah.
and some of the residents.
Oh, not now then?
Yeah, right now.
Okay.
Right now it doesn't, and there are no plans for it.
Okay.
But we haven't got to that part of the Potter's Creek development to see it.
Okay.
And so,
That's
yeah,
good,
it's,
yeah.
it is confusing, Councillor Thompson, I know,
I
yeah.
find it a little confusing because there's so many talk about going Hastings and whether it's gonna be through a road and all that, but we're not connecting it at this time anyways.
Not as a through fare, I think, as someone had
Okay,
said somewhere.
all right, the
before.
next question then, and I thank you very much for that. It clarifies for me and I'm sure a couple of other people. Was there ever any consideration, and I was approached, and I know what the answer I'm going to get anyways, but I got to bring it up because the taxpayers asked me. The people that are on Avonlow Road, on the right-hand side, have very large lots of 100 feet frontage. The new ones on the left side, on the west side, is only going to have lot sizes of 37 feet. Is there any consideration to ever saying we need them to be a little larger so that they sort of fit in with the ones on the right-hand side? I have to ask this.
I think they did sort of make, the applicants did make, similar types, but as far as that size of lot, I don't think you're ever gonna see that size of lot developed.
No, and I
again.
told the taxpayer they'll never get to a 100-foot lot, but was there any chance of getting to, say, a halfway in between, like 50 or 60 feet instead of 36 feet? 36 and 100 is quite a difference.
I'm sure they would have considered that initially, but they probably also did my guess is they would have done a market analysis and what they would have had to have sold each of those homes for to have an increased frontage.
And I knew that's the answer I was going to get. It's not the answer I wanted, but it's an answer I was going to get. I just feel that it does has influence on the people on the right. Whether it devalues their property or not, I don't know, but I told this taxpayer I'd ask the question, and I asked. Thank you very much.
All right, anyone else? Councillor Carr, I'm sorry, yes, Councillor Carr, you're next on my list, thank you.
Yes, thank you. And yeah, certainly when Potter's Creek 9B comes before planning advisory, there'll be plenty of time to get into the nuts and bolts on that particular connection or not. And I've talked to a couple of residents in that area. Just getting back to the development in itself, 695 dwellings. The application was received by the city back in November, November 29th, 2021. Our public meeting at Planning Advisory was January 4th, or the public meeting, and then it came back to the committee last week, May 2nd, with a recommendation. Here it is today. And I bring that up simply because I'm getting sick and tired of hearing from the provincial and federal governments that municipal councils are gatekeepers, that we're slowing down supply, when in fact, when you look at the time frames involved, here we are today now going to approve 695 new dwellings. Now, the catch is that that development is going to take approximately 10 years to build out. But that is beyond the control of the individuals sitting around this table. That now goes back to the private sector to get your building permits in place and to actually construct the homes. And that gets into the skilled trades issues, and then hearing now, supplies on materials and costs, etc. But I really need to emphasize the fact that planning staff do an excellent job in expediting applications. When there's issues raised by residents, those are thoroughly investigated, addressed, and to everyone's satisfaction, it continues to move forward in an expedited fashion to the point where we're approving an application what I consider reasonable times. And so I just wanted to emphasize that, just simply because I don't like the term that we're gatekeepers and we're slowing it up, because it doesn't benefit our community to have less supply. We've all said this, and so for all of us around the table, we all want to see more of this come online, and we're moving as quick as we possibly can, and appreciate the efforts that staff are doing behind the scenes. And even with 9B, on the Potters Creek side, we know there's going to be some issues there that we're going to have to iron out with the community that are there. And I agree, there needs to be some coexisting between new development and what's existed for decades on end. But that growth will occur, and it'll move in an expedited fashion, and we'll continue to try to allow supply to enter the market as quick as we possibly can. But we're just only one cog on a long wheel here to make this actually get to the final product where somebody's unlocking a front door and moving in. So thanks to staff for moving this quickly.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so I do have some comments, and I want to say, and I want to say, first of all, I believe this is the largest single phase development that we've approved this term, with 695 homes that'll be part of this development. And you know, and I agree with Councillor Carr that it's easy, particularly during an election, because we see federal politicians who are campaigning for the leadership of their party, accusing municipalities as being the hold-ups on it. We see provincial parties campaigning now on saying that the process is not going quickly. We have been, I sat on the planning committee meetings when this came there. We have moved this along, and we've taken time because we did defer the decision to allow for more consultation with respect specifically for traffic studies. And I think that the current, this project, they've done everything they can to deal with it. Things may change, but this project, in order for it to go ahead, will require significant financing and other legal arrangements, and we need to get going on it, and they need to have some certainty. So today we need to approve this moving forward. With respect to Councillor Thompson's question about lot size, I believe I asked that specific question to the developers. And along Avonlow Road, there are some existing homes who built when it was, you know, somewhat acreage-style housing in that area. The lots across for this development on the west side of the road are the largest lots of the entire development. It is the lowest density along Avonlow Road to try to keep in character with those other houses as best possible. When you look inside the development, you will see significantly higher density, which is not just permitted, but encouraged by the City of Belleville. So they have made decisions to take less revenue from houses along that route as a concession to make sure that happened. And I think, you know, I said this at the last time I was in the planning committee dealing with this. This developer followed the process that I think all developers should. Before this became public, they already canvassed the neighborhood. They walked along Avonlow Road, the Hastings Park neighborhood. They showed plans, a detailed subdivision plan that they were proposing to bring forward to get feedback, to let people know they had some time to think about it. You know, too often members of the public find out when it's already going to be submitted, and then there's no opportunity to take that input and understand it or think about it. So, you know, they followed the process. So I want to say a thank you to the developers and the consultants that's worked with them. You know, one of the comments is sometimes made that because they're locally owned, they live here, they have businesses here, that they were a little bit more open to having this conversation. But that may be. The consultant is local and they are connected to our community. That may be as well. But whatever the reason was, I think it's a very good example of how others should go to talk about this, because at the end of the day, council makes a decision and people who are in the vicinity have a right to have input. And that's what happened here. I also want to thank Director Ashton and all of the staff in the planning department. They have worked very hard and they've worked collaboratively and have brought this forward. And then I want to say a special thank you to CAO Beauvais, who has been instrumental in helping with this project as well, helping to deal with some of the legal requirements to put into the agreements and to move these things. These are complex situations, plans. 695 homes don't just happen by themselves and don't just get slapped up in a row. You have significant infrastructure, planning, development, traffic studies, recreation, stormwater management, you name it. And we have done, I think, an exceptional job, and I'm very, very proud of everyone's efforts. So thank you to everybody that's involved. I'm very excited to see this large-scale 695-unit development go through. This will provide the housing that we're desperate to provide people in the city of Belleville, and it is a good day for the city. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. We'll let Councillor McCaw know. Councillor McCaw, you're going to get some new neighbors. So that's, so that's good. We're going to move now to 8B5, contract number Transportation Operation and Services 2022-13, IOTA Accessibility Bus Stop Concrete Pads, and the resolution is that the tender submission from NPM Construction Inc. be accepted for contract number TOS 2022-13, supply and installation of IOTA compliant bus stop concrete pads in the total amount of $246,340, this being the lowest cost tender received, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign the acceptance agreement on behalf of the corporation of the city of Belleville, and that the city clerk be authorized to affix the corporate seal. Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Kelly. Councillor Thompson, you raised this issue. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Just a couple of quick questions. This is an ongoing project. How many pads are you installing this year? And how many would that leave us to get to the AODA regulation bus stops?
Thank you. General Manager Reid.
Through the chair to Councillor Thompson, this year we're doing 55 stops. Included within those are 9 stops that require tactile plates. So we'll be installing those to meet the requirements of the AODA regulations that we're trying to meet. We still have, over the years we've been doing this project, and we have been doing the ones that are a little easier to get at and do. Once we complete this, there'll be probably about 45 to 50 approximately that are going to require a little more, I want to say, complex design because of elevations and just lay of the land. But we are getting through them. They look great, and they're. I know the users are appreciating the investment council's made in our stops.
Thank you, Mr. Reid. And I can't thank the city enough for making sure our city is AODA regulated, and bus stops are an important part. We went a number of years where we had no bus shelters in a lot of locations. And I can think of one up at Hastings Manor. People were coming out of there and was no shelter. We made major inroads, so I appreciate the effort to bring us under regulations, and appreciate the work that will continue, and hopefully soon get them all done. Thank you.
Anyone else on this? And I think we also want to add thanks to the provincial government for helping to fund this. We receive funding specific for making our transit system more accessible, specific funding that we can only spend on upgrading transit shelters and pads. And we are working our way through that, so we're grateful for that as well.
Thank you.
I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. So we'll now deal with 8B7, the grant committee, and Councillors Thompson, Millette, and Alsap declared a conflict on it. All right, so the resolution is that Council approve the recommendations of the Grant Committee as outlined in the Director of Finance Treasurer's Report Number DF 2022-08, City of Belleville Grant Committee. Moved by Councillor Carr, seconded by Councillor Feeney. Councillor Carr?
Yes, thank you. And my request wasn't to have half the council chamber clear here. I just wanted to say thank you to the Grant Committee for going through the work. This one here has the social infrastructure requests and recommendations to council, and as always, it's oversubscribed, almost double in terms of what the budget was to what the ask was. And there's so many excellent organizations, nonprofit organizations in our community that continue to do great work day in and day out. And some have been here at the podium to talk about their programs. but getting some of those year-end reports to see how many meals are handed out for lunch and for dinner and some of the other things that go on to support the vulnerable in our community, they really know how to stretch a dollar. And, you know, we've seen in the reports too that their costs are going up, which makes it more difficult. And so the fact that we're able to assist with some of their funding sources to provide these programs is so critical. And so I just wanted to say thank you to the grant committee for going through that process. It's never easy to say no to some, and we're trying to spread as much money out as we can to some of those organizations. But again, it always is oversubscribed, so thank you.
Right. Anyone else? So I'll just add my thanks, and Councillor Carr, you chair that committee and do a fine job. You know, you've talked about that. This is the second of the special allocations. So, you know, we have the Belleville Community Arts and Culture Fund that we've already dealt with earlier, and now we dealt with social infrastructure, in addition to the regular requests for assistance with events and the things that traditionally the grant committee deals with. And so through Director Hines, I want to thank all of her staff, but in particular Jennifer Knight, who helps us to prepare all the information, ensure that all that we need to consider at the time of making our decision is there. She's very professional, very thorough, and does a great job supporting the work of the committee. We congratulate her on her promotion and her new position, but we really appreciate the hard work she does, as well as all of our staff. And so I think if Director Hines can pass it along, we'd appreciate it. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. And you can leave Councillor Alsop out because I'm sorry, no. Does someone else have a conflict on this one? You have a conflict on it? 8B9? Okay. Okay. Okay, Venture Outfitters Lease Agreement, 8B9, and the resolution is that pursuant to the manager, it wasn't pulled, so we're finished? I'm sorry. Okay, I apologize for being confused. I didn't write it down properly. So we are finished with the 8Bs. Okay, thank you. So we'll now move to 8C, Council Information Matters, where Council may adopt consent items by one motion, but prior to consideration of such motion, members may request that specific items be removed from consideration under such motion, and Council shall consider such items individually. And I'll go the other way. Councillor Kelly.
No, thank you.
Councillor Millette.
No, thank you.
Councillor Feeney.
No, thank you.
Councillor Carr.
No, thank you.
Councillor Thompson.
No, thank you.
Councillor Alsop.
No, thank you.
Councillor Sanderson.
No, thank you.
Councillor McCaw.
No, thank you.
Okay, so the resolution is the agenda items be received. Moved by Councillor Alsop, seconded by Councillor Millette. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, so a motion to rise and report. Moved by Councillor McCaw, seconded by Councillor Alsop. All in favor? It's carried. So the two bylaws that are 2022-76 and 72 and 76 that we got to pull. So I'm going to pull bylaws 2022-72 and bylaw 22-76. So Councillors McCaw, Alsop, Thompson, Millette have a conflict on this one. So if you just want to step up for a moment, and we'll do 3 readings of those 2 bylaws, and then we'll come back for the rest. Or, sorry, hang on. I might be wrong here.
There's only 1 on one and 3 on the other.
I have a conflict on 72.
Okay.
Councillor Alsop has one on a different one. I don't think Councillor Millette and Thompson have a conflict related to your committee work on a bylaw.
So the grant committee one isn't coming up. So, okay. So Councillor Alsop and Councillor McCaw? Are okay. Okay. The 2s. So 72 and 76? Okay. Thank you, everybody. So first reading of bylaws 2022-72, which is the pop-up license agreement with Venture Outfitters, and 2022-76, which is the bylaw for the official plan for the Village of Avonlea subdivision. So someone to move it for first reading. Second, moved by Councillor Sanderson, second by Councillor Carr. All in favor? It's carried. Second reading of bylaws 2022-72 and 76. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Any discussion on those 2 bylaws? Seeing none, all in favor, it's carried. And third and final reading of bylaws number 2022-73 2022-72 and 2022-76. Moved by Councillor Feeney, seconded by Councillor Kelly. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. We'll bring them back in. Okay, thank you. So, dealing with first reading of bylaws 2022-69, 70, 71, 73, 74, 75, and 77. Moved by Councillor Alsap, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All in favor? It's carried. Second reading of bylaws 2022-69, 70, 71, 73, 74, 75, and 77. Moved by Councillor Alsap, seconded by Councillor Sandison. Any discussion on those items? I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. And third and final reading of bylaws number 2022-69, 70, 71, 73, 74, 75, and 77. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Feeney. All in favor? It's carried. New business. Colleagues, I just have one item that I just want to bring up, and I apologize for not letting you know ahead of time. I received correspondence today from the county of the Hastings and Prince Edward Public Health Unit, and it deals with requesting support for their West Nile virus preparedness and prevention plan, and they will be applying to the Ontario Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Park for pesticide permits. And in case there should be a need to carry out mosquito larviciding activities within the municipality of Belleville. And in order to attain these permits, they require a letter of support from municipalities in the area, and they are asking that we provide a letter as soon as possible so that public health is in a position to apply for the pesticide permits and carry out control measures if necessary. They say that acquiring our approval is a precautionary measure, as the use of biological larvicide will only be considered where there is clear evidence of West Nile virus activity in the community and there is a high risk of human exposure. In that event, public health would notify the municipality in advance of any use of larvicide and would also post a public notice in a local newspaper advising residents of the work. They do submit a sample letter of support, and so we have to bring this on today under new business, and so I'm looking for a motion that we provide a letter of support for Hastings and Prince Edward Public Health in support of the West Nile Virus Preparedness and Prevention Plan 2022. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Sandison. Does anybody want to see the letter that I just read from? Okay. Any questions or comments on it? I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Anyone else with new business today? Seeing none, we'll move to motions. And we have a motion from the last meeting. At the last meeting, Councillor Feeney provided notice of reconsideration for an amendment to sign bylaw number 2006-55 regarding a ban on the display of signs related to municipal elections. Councillor Feeney, you are continue to move it. I'm looking for a seconder. Councillor Alsap has seconded. The motion is in order. And so, Councillor Feeney, we are going to be discussing now your notice of reconsideration of the signed bylaw. I would suggest that you want to talk about the reasons why you believe it should be reconsidered, and then you can get into the technical aspects of your amendment if you're successful later on. But right now, we're talking about the reason for you feel it should be reconsidered at this time.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, and fellow colleagues. I was very pleased to be part of the unanimous decision that we made last year in 2021 to declare the city of Belleville in the state of environmental emergency. And one of the things that is part of our municipal campaigns is having signage, most of which is not recyclable. Yes, they are reusable, but they will ultimately end up in landfill. And the other part too is, having been part of the Good Roads Conference a couple of weeks ago, Councillor Thompson was also in this seminar that said that next to speeding, distracted driving is one of the major causes for collisions and accidents and injuries and fatalities. And where do we put our municipal signage? We put it in high traffic areas. And why do we do that? Because of visibility. which means we're adding to distracted driving. And thirdly, signs are expensive. If we're asking for other people to try to join this race and join council, it's a financial barrier as well. So I know that some of my colleagues say that it's a very important part of a campaign to have signage. Well, I'm just going to speak for myself, but I think in doing so, then we're actually saying to voters that it's more important to get elected or re-elected than really consider the impact on the environment and road safety. But there are councillors that do have recyclable signage, which is very good, commendable, but that doesn't take into consideration the distracted driving part of the equation. So I'm just asking respectfully for your reconsideration of this bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you. Under the procedural bylaw, only the mover of a reconsideration motion is able to speak, and Councillor Feeney has done so. And so I will now call the vote. Of course, it requires a 2/3 majority in order to have a reconsideration. If the motion is approved, then we will then introduce an amendment to the bylaw that we will then discuss and debate. And if the motion is not approved for reconsideration, then we'll move on. So I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is defeated. Any other notice of motions today? Okay, then we'll move to announcements. Does anyone have any announcements they'd like to make? Okay, well, I have a couple of my standard things. In terms of proclamations, I am pleased to proclaim tomorrow, May the 10th, as World Lupus Day. Lupus is a chronic autoimmune disease that can damage any part of the body. This day is meant to work to create greater awareness and understanding of lupus, provide education and services to people living with the disease, and advocate on their behalf. The Belleville sign and the Bridge Street Bridge will be lit up in purple to support this day tomorrow, May the 10th. I would also like to proclaim May 13th as Falun Daffa Day. This year marks the monumental 30th year of Falun Daffa teaching to the world. Falun Daffa is an ancient Chinese meditation practice which can enrich the multiculturalism in society. Falun Daffa is an ancient cultivation practice system for mind and body based on the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. The Belleville sign and Bridge Street Bridge will be lit up in blue and yellow to support this day on the 13th. I was very pleased to be present this morning to raise the flag at the Quinte Sports and Wellness Center. I'm also proclaiming May 23rd to 30th as Bullying Elimination Week. This week is an opportunity to recognize, prevent, and interfere when bullying occurs. It is important to eliminate bullying for a safer, more accepting community. I would like to congratulate the Victoria Order of Nurses as they celebrate their 125th anniversary. It is my pleasure to also declare Victoria Order of Nurses Week on May 22nd to 28th, 2022. And this year, continued recognition of Victoria Order of Nurses Week is particularly significant as our employees are on the front lines and their employees are on the front lines of the COVID-19 response. The efforts of Victoria Order of Nurses caregivers are helping to keep people fed, cared for, and safe in their homes. These efforts are essential and in many cases help reduce further strain on our fellow medical professionals in hospitals. These people are all heroes in this global effort. Help support Victoria Order of Nurses Week by wearing blue on Wednesday, May the 25th. In terms of announcements, on April the 27th, I was honored to attend and be the speaker at the Mayor's Chamber of Breakfast at the Grand Banquet Facility to provide an address on the state of the city. And it was a very well-received message, and people are very proud, not just of the progress that we've made, but the future ahead of us. Thank you so much to the Belleville Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. On April the 28th, I was pleased to join the Belleville Fire and Transit staff for the official unveiling of the new Camp Molly bus wrap at Fire Station Number 1. And registration for this exciting first ever event will remain open until the end of May. All young women aged 15 to 18 years of age who are interested in learning what it is like to have a career in the fire services are encouraged to apply. On April the 29th, I was able to represent the city at an exciting announcement at the Quinte Business Development Center, where MPP Todd Smith announced $1.3 million in additional funding through the Skills Development Center of the Quinte Economic Development Commission, or for the Quinte Economic Development Commission, which will go towards supporting manufacturers and training employees for manufacturing in the region. On last Saturday, April 30th, Police Chief Callahan presented on my behalf at the Volunteer and Information Recognition and Celebration event at the National Air Force Museum. Thank you so much to the hard work and dedication of all of our volunteers in the region, those who continued volunteering throughout the pandemic, and those who are now able to return back to their previous activities. We would not have the society that we have without volunteers. Thank you to Councillors Millette and Sanderson and the other members of the Green Task Force who organized the seedling giveaway on April the 30th with Quinte Conservation. Hundreds of free seedlings were distributed to community members to enhance our greenery in the city and continues our long-standing tradition of adding more trees than we are removing. On May 2nd, I was thrilled to host Member of Provincial Parliament Todd Smith and Daryl Cramp, who made an announcement that the Belleville East Arterial Road has been included in the Provincial Budget 2022. Belleville has been advocating for over 30 years for an additional interchange. Our current safety concerns with Canafton Road, the exit, as well as the improper use of that for industrial traffic, and having a proper interchange that will allow for tandem trucks to safely service the Northeast Industrial Park was very greatly and warmly received. This is a major advancement for the future of our city, because without it, it limits our ability to grow to the east, to grow our industrial park, and to service our industry. Thank you to Premier Doug Ford, Minister of Transportation Caroline Mulroney, and our MPPs Todd Smith and Daryl Cramp. It was a very big day for the city of Belleville as we got that in the budget. On May 2nd, Peak Benefit Solutions and Park Place Financial had their grand opening. I was able to attend with Councillor Carr and Councillor Sanderson. We were so pleased to join Matt and his team in celebrating this new merger, which will work together to meet their clients' needs. And also, along with Councillors Carr and Sanderson, I was pleased to join Adam Hannafin and his team at Hannafin Automation and Industrial Controls for their official reopening. This automation software solution company opened their newly renovated space just at the bottom part of Canafton Road north of 401, and they are ready to help the manufacturing sector. And the last thing I want to talk about is just what an exciting week we've had for the last week. Starting on Tuesday, we had 8 delegates visiting us from our sister city, from Lahr, Germany. They arrived in Belleville at noon with a welcome ceremony, and what an amazing group of people our colleagues from Lahr, Germany are, but also what an amazing experience they had. The delegates participated in multiple tours and meetings to further develop the relationship between our cities and explore further economic and business partnerships we can utilize. Special thanks to my fellow members of the Cultural Exchange Committee, Councillor Kelly and Councillor Millette. And also we want to say thank you to Councillor Sanderson for helping with some of the chaperoning, guiding, leading, however you want to describe it. But they were so not just blown away by the hospitality and by the subject matter of which they were exposed to, but also how similar our communities are. I want to thank all other members of council for attending as many events as you could. I realize that those 6 days were, an interruption in our lives, and it was heavy, but it made the world a difference. And I can say that yesterday at 4 o'clock when they left, there were tears because of our relationship. So I want to thank all of you for supporting these partnerships that we have with these very important communities. There is going to be substantial economic progress that comes out of this. We were looking forward to having some of those announcements. But I want to say a thank you as well to staff in my office, Tiffany Spencer and Sarah Button-Tooman and Martha and Marilyn and Jenna and Marianne, who's no longer working for the city but did a lot of the lead up to it. I want to thank all the hosts, our staff that hosted them at municipal facilities, and everyone else. It was a terrific time. It is such a privilege for me to be able to occupy this position and have these groups here, and I think we all are very proud of the visit. It was a successful visit, and we look forward to when we shall meet again. And with that, I will ask for a motion for a confirmatory bylaw. A resolution is that bylaw number 2022-78, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on May the 9th, 2022, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 9th day of May 2022. Moved by Councillor Feeney, seconded by Councillor Alsap. All in favor. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Alsap, seconded by Councillor Kelly. All in favor. It's carried. Thank you.